Hi guys, it's Ray here from Man City Fan TV. Well, normally the day after a game, Andy and me, or one of us at least, we do a review of the game, maybe go through player ratings and such like. And I was thinking of doing that today, but you know, it was, let's be honest, it'd be probably a very quick summary of the game. You know, we got a wonderful first goal through a fantastic pass from Emerick Laporte. Beautiful pass straight to Leroy Sané, put it in the box. Jesus scored. Bowley got sent off. It's 50-50. You know, some of them you can say Company got lucky with his. Van Dijk got lucky with his against Napoli. So sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not. And yesterday it was given. Got penalty, bang on penalty. Gabby Jesus sent their goal the wrong way, and then stodgy second half, and we got a third goal, and we move on. And so pretty much quick summary of the game. But today I want to focus on some other stuff that's going around in social media, stuff that's been thrown at City in the past, and I'm going to focus on just 5 points. One is the empty had jibe. It's getting hit with us all the time. Empty had. Plastic fans is another. Net spend. I'll come to net spend as well. History and atmosphere. So these things are thrown at us in this, by social media, by other fans. And so I think I wanted to address them because there's a lot of stuff going on yesterday after the game on TALKSPORT. Now, in the UK, we have two national channels that are devoted mostly to sport. You've got TALKSPORT, which is supposedly devoted 100% to sport, and you've got BBC Radio 5 Live, which is not 100% devoted to sport and current affairs and what have you, but there's a lot of time dedicated to sport on BBC Radio 5 Live. Now, that's really basically our only choices, so you've got to listen to one or the other if you want to talk or hear about sport. So going home from games, it's normal, it's usual for fans to talk to other fans about sport, about the match, what happened during the game, etc. Now, if you're on your own or with just you know, there's a couple of you in the car, sometimes you want to listen to other people talk about the game. You want to, you know, because you just watched it live firsthand. You've not seen any highlights. You've not heard anything on the radio or anything. So sometimes you want to hear match reports from professional reporters. You know, people who've been privy to, obviously, the game. They've watched the game live. They've watched highlights as well, because a lot of the media people have monitors as well, so they can watch the highlights or replays and what have you. So they've got a lot more access to media and what's going on around the game, more than the match-going fan has. I mean, for example, that Willy Bowley's red card. Now, at the ground, we don't see that again because it's a contentious decision, so we don't see it again at all. So, you know, we just have to make up our own minds on the spur of the moment. And personally, I said to Andy, as soon as he did the tackle, I said, that's a red card. I wasn't sure whether the ref would give it because it's only 19th, 20th minute. That's a bit early. And a lot of refs, they err on the side of caution, let's say, and or bottling it, and they don't take these big decisions, especially early in the game, especially of such a magnitude that it's going to really affect the game. I mean, Wolves were down 1-0 at the time, and sending off was not going to help their cause. But the ref made the decision, and that was that. But as I said, we only get one view. If you're a reporter at the game, or from the TV or whatever, from the radio or the press, you'll watch that several times. You might watch it 10 or 12 times. And so you've got that benefit of that aid of watching that replay many times, much more than the fan has. So we expect as fans to get a better view from listening to reports on the radio. I think it's only expected and natural. Now, TALKSPORT decided that they rather than talk about the game, rather than talk about this contentious penalty or you know, the fact that City had won the game, they seem to focus on the empty had, the atmosphere. That was what was kind of driving their radio program. And I was reading stuff on Twitter last night, from City fans who were really disgusted at this, and they wanted to hear, as I said, they wanted to hear report on the game, talking about the game, you know, the goals, sending off, and etc. They want to know more about the game. That's what I want the discussion to be aimed around. And basically, because City won the game and it didn't suit the agenda of TalkSport, they talked about the empty had, the fact that it wasn't full. And I think that's really, really unfair of TalkSport to talk about numbers. I mean, I'll go through some of the numbers. Last night we had just over 54,000 tickets sold. Now that's not the people who attended the match, but it's most clubs deal in tickets sold. They talk about tickets sold. They don't talk about actually the people that go through the turnstiles, because the people who fans going through the turnstiles is always lower than the number of tickets sold. So City sold just over 54,000 tickets. The capacity at the Etihad is a smidgen over 55,000. I think it's 55,097. So last night, City sold 98.2% of their tickets. And actually, that's bang on average, because I think last season our tickets sold was 98.1%. Credit to the Wolves fans, they sold out their allocation. But sometimes at games, opposition teams don't sell out their allocation. For example, when we got beat by Crystal Palace, they only sold 810 tickets. Now, if their allocation is 3,000 tickets, that's 2,000 fans who are not at the game through no fault of City. And that straight away makes, I guess, the number of tickets sold around 95 or 96% off the top of my head. Let's say I think it's around 96%. So that's, you know, you're beating City with a brush, where sometimes it's not even our fault. Opposition fans are not attending the game. That's nothing to do with City. We can't force them to generally come and watch their sides get beaten. Crystal Palace was an exception. But anyway, so we sell nearly all the tickets at the ground. There's only, I think, 3 or 4 clubs that sell more tickets. Man United, naturally, it's about 75, 77,000. West Ham, they've got a 60,000 seater stadium or something like that. Arsenal, it's around 60,000 seats. And sometimes Spurs playing at Wembley, you know, I think against Man United they sold 80,000 seats. But sometimes, I think against Chelsea they sold 44,000. I think that was in the Carabao Cup. They sold 44,000 tickets. Okay, capacity was restricted to 51,000. But really, there's only 3 or 4 teams that have a higher average that sell more tickets to their home games than City. I think we have higher attendance than Liverpool, for instance. I mean, naturally, our capacity is slightly higher, and that gives us that opportunity to sell more tickets. Now, a very interesting thing is the Liverpool fill rate last season was 98.1%, exactly the same as City's. I think when I looked at the tables, City were higher up the table, so I think it's rounded to 98.1%. Let's just guess here that City's rounding would have, you know, City's actual was just a little bit higher, but the rounding comes to the same, 98.1%, exactly the same as Liverpool. So I think it's unfair to throw this empty had jibe at City. Now, because you've got to look at why fans are not going to games. Now, why were fans... I mean, you can see, yes, there were empty blue seats behind one of the goals, and other pockets of empty seats around the ground. So you've got to ask yourself, there were 54,000 tickets sold for the game yesterday, and there weren't 54,000 people there. Who knows how many were there? You could say there was 52, 53, whatever. There were some empty seats. But you've got to ask yourself, why are there empty seats? Well, the game's been rescheduled from a weekend to a Monday night. Now, some people work during the week, and they work odd hours. You know, it's unsocial hours, let's say, but that's what it is. You know, and other people, they're finishing work at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or they're going to take time off work if they, got to get to the ground. I read on Twitter, one guy said, I finished work at 5, legged it home, got my kids, didn't even get changed, didn't have anything to eat, told my brother, who I normally take to games, that he had to go make his own way because I was running late, and I got to the ground. And that's how he did it, and that's how a lot of people did it, same as me. I normally get to the ground about 3 hours early. I've got to pick my kids up from school and their activities. So by the time I got to the ground, you know, still 2 hours early, but other people are in more difficult situations. If you can't get time off work, you're going to turn up late, or you're going to have to decide. You know, if you have to work in the evenings, then you can't get to the game. So that's a big impact. Is work life balance. It's a school night. Now, how many parents want to take their young kids to the game? You know, someone said to me, I don't take my grandkids, they're 5 years old, whatever, around that age, don't take them to the game. Same as me. Got 2 kids, 10 and 11 years old. They got season cards, they got season tickets, but they don't go to, they don't generally go to weeknight games. I think my eldest went to one early in the season. I think he's been to a couple, but that's when there was no school. So that's manageable. But I can't take my kids, 10 and 11 years old, to a match midweek, you know, when it's a school night. I got home after 11 o'clock last night. It was best part of 11:30 by the time I got home. So can you imagine with 2 kids in tow, if I'm turning up at home at 11:30 at night? That's not good parenting for my kids to be going to bed about midnight and then getting up at 7 o'clock to get ready for school. It's not good at all. It's not good for their health. And you go and check. You know, check online how much sleep a kid needs. I mean, we're talking 10, 11 hours every night, and you can't catch up. Once you've missed it, you can't catch up. So that's affecting them, and it affects them the next day. So a lot of responsible parents, I'm not going to say anything about the parents. Some parents did take their kids, but a lot of parents say, I will not take my kids to evening games. And if you look around the ground, a lot of the empty seats were at the north end. That's a family stand. So you know, and you can imagine a lot of kids not going to the game. It's fair dues, you know. So I think it's harsh to criticise City and the fans for that. Also, you've got to think, that's 4 games. We've had 4 home games in less than 2 weeks. I think it's 10, 11 or 12 days. We've had 4 home games. The Liverpool, Rotherham in the Cup. So Liverpool on Thursday, Rotherham on the Sunday, Burton in midweek, and Wolves on Monday night. So in the space of about 11 or 12 days, we've had 4 games. Now, you want to take you know, I've spoken to a lady after the game yesterday, and she said, if I wanted to bring my full family, my husband and whatever, 2 kids to the game, it's going to cost, to the Wolves game, it's going to cost me 200 quid. That's a fair bit of money, especially if you've been to the Liverpool game, you've been to Rotherham and Burton. Okay, Burton, we only had 32,000. I think that's a combination of the opposition and the competition. But if you want to go to all these, if you're taking your kids to all these games, you know, you can imagine how it soon adds up. The league games, 200 quid a pop, for, you know, 2 adults, 2 kids, or whatever it was. And the other 2, okay, they were discounted, but you're still going to be spending well over 500 quid to take your family to these 4 games. It's just after Christmas, you know. So some people, they said, look, one guy said, I got paid on the 20th of December, okay? I will not get paid again till the 29th or 27th of January. I've got no money. How can I go to games? So you're now criticising and you're making fun of poverty, of people's hardship, people's financial difficulties, and their difficulties to pay for tickets to games. And that's quite sad, you know. It's more than sad, it's disgusting, you know. And people need to sometimes think a bit more, you know, before they make such jokey comments, before they make fun of a fan base in general. They need to think what they're making fun of, because sometimes, yeah, I understand, you know, if you're a comedian, or you want to be funny, you know, sometimes you can overstep the line. You can overstep the mark and you can go too far, because, you know, some comedians are on the edge sometimes, and sometimes what you say can be really, really funny, but it could be very, very close to being really, really nasty or awkward or wrong. And so sometimes you can go on the wrong side of the line. But if you're consistently on the wrong side of the line, then you're not thinking about what you're saying, and you need to think more about what you're saying. So if you're making fun of a fan base, you think it's a joke, it's comedy, it's comical to make fun of people who cannot afford to go to games or have to pick and choose because there's 4 games in 12 days and they cannot afford 500 quid over 12 days, or it's 5 weeks since they've been paid and they've had Christmas and New Year's and everything else. You know, and it's plain wrong in my book. Have a quick swig of coffee. Okay, so I put out a message yesterday to Andy Goldstein, I think that's his name, on TalkSPORT. Andy Goldstein, MBE. Now, I love you guys in the comment section below to tell me what MBE stands for. And I will not argue with anybody who says the B stands for Bell End. Okay, but put in the comments below what you think MBE stands for. Now, he's criticising fans with his mate, I think was it Jason Cundy on last night? Got to be very careful how you say that name. But you can say either or. I think either or works. I think he was criticising the fans. Now, I sent him a tweet. Yes, I expect he gets hundreds or thousands of tweets every day. He's a very, very popular guy. And he hasn't responded. I asked him, which club do you support, mate? Do you have a season ticket? And how often do you go to home games? I think that's fair dues. See, a lot of these media types who are criticised and are critical of City, it's very interesting to find out how they, what games they go to, who they support, and how they pay for those games. Because a lot of them, not all of them, I know some actually have season tickets for their own teams and go to the games and pay their own money. I think a fair few of the media types, on radio, TV, in the papers, whatever, they get free tickets to games. And if you look at the press, they get not only do they get freebie entry because of who they work for, they get free food, free hospitality. Now, that's not offered to the ordinary fans. It's just because of their position, their status, and who they work for. They're getting free food, free tickets. Okay, I know clubs, the hospitality that sometimes even Man City have given to press people from all over the world, where they'll fly them in and give them hospitality because you want a good press. Excuse me, and that's just the way it is. You want a good press, and you want the fan base of the club to grow all around the world. So the media types, they're getting free tickets, free food, and they're criticising City fans and other fans, but mostly at the moment City fans, because we can't fill our stadium by a few thousand seats. Mainly because I think, and a lot of people are saying this, people can't afford to go. So you're getting free stuff and you're making fun of people who can't afford it. Great. Absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are proud of yourselves. And I'll go back to the whole overall topic of the making fun of City thing, the jibes aimed at City. We had a lot of this last season. Oh, it's empty. You're not filling your stadium. You're playing a fantastic football, but you're not filling your stadium. You've got plastic fans. They've only been sporting for 10 years or 5 years since the takeover. They used to be United fans or whoever. Look at the net spend. You spend so much money. You oil this and oil that, and an Arab this and Arab that. You've got no history. You've got no atmosphere. All this rubbish thrown at City. And last season it was thrown at City purely because they couldn't beat us on the pitch. That was it. No other reason. You can't beat us on the pitch, so you've got to find another way to have a go at City. And honestly, the best way to do it, generally, in the end, you just start ignoring them. So they have a pop up all this because City are so good on the pitch. And it's the same this year. And it's even more so because Liverpool are on top, and a few more people feel emboldened and that they want to have this pop at City. So we talked about empty had. It's not, okay? Tickets are sold, 98.1% tickets sold. People don't go to games for various reasons, whether they're ill, got to work, school night, whatever, okay? Can't afford to go to games, whatever the reasons, City's fill rate is 98.1%, same as Liverpool's. So let's look at another thing thrown at City, the net spend. Now I went to, I think the football show on Channel 4 with Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV, or AFTV as it's branded now, for the first show of the season. And there were a lot of fans there from all the clubs. And you find it's mostly the northern fans, or the fans from the smaller clubs, certain northern fans, who were actually, you would say, proper fans. Now, you can have this argument, who's a proper fan, who's a supporter, who's not a proper fan, whatever. These were match-going fans. So the guy from Newcastle goes to games. Guy from Everton goes to games. Guy from City, out with me, goes to games. The girl from Liverpool, no, lives in Birmingham, not got a real attachment to Liverpool. The guy from the United fan who lives in London, I'm not sure how many games he goes to, I'm not sure what his attachment is, but generally these people have supported some clubs, you know, who've got huge fan bases now, like Arsenal, like Liverpool, like Man United, because they were winning stuff. So some of them started supporting these clubs when they were in the ascendancy and they were winning stuff, or they're the children of people who started supporting these clubs because they were winning stuff. So, you know, if your dad was, you know, from the 70s and 80s, Liverpool fan, 80s and 90s, or 90s, United fan. You know, if you were born around in the 90s, you might be an Arsenal fan if you're from London. So these fans have got massive fan bases all over the country and all over the world because historically they won stuff in the recent past, and that's helped to grow their fan bases. So this girl, I was chatting with her. I actually took a video, but I deleted it to save her embarrassment, and she was on about net spend. And I said to her very calmly and politely, I said, net spend just shows your lack of ambition. You know, for instance, Liverpool had sold Coutinho and they didn't reinvest the money. Now they have, but they're not been reinvesting the Coutinho money. I believe they've been spending the Champions League money. So FSG, I think it's Fenway Sport Group, whatever. FSG, the owners of Liverpool, they were not putting money in. You know, their idea is not to. It's not the what goes on the pitch. It's not winning trophies. That's the be all and end all. They're there to make money. They're a business. It's a business. Decisions are based on business. That's the main criteria. That's the main priority for them. And ever since they got the Champions League money, they can start spending, and that's what they've done. They spent big to win trophies, to buy trophies. Not many Liverpool fans have had a go at Klopp for spending somewhere in the region of, let's say, 400 million in the 3.5 seasons he's been there. I can't see that in the media. The media is very red, Man United or Liverpool generally, and Arsenal. But they're not critical of Jurgen Klopp for spending so much money. And even Klopp himself, and we all know, he said he'd leave football rather than spend money to win stuff. And you know, the Leopard does change its spots because he spent a lot of money, but he's still in football. So it is a bit of a hypocrite. So this net spend, as I said, it shows your lack of ambition. You know, you're not spending the money that you've got. You're not taking a chance, and you're not ambitious enough to try and win trophies. Now, as I said, Liverpool are spending money now because they're making more and more money from the Champions League. So they're spending more and more of what they've got, rather than, as I said, they didn't spend the Coutinho money, 140 million quid. Barcelona donated to them for Coutinho. So, you know, and a lot of these fans, I'll say this as well, as I kind of said, you know, the Man United fan, living in London, nothing to do with Manchester. The Liverpool fan, living in Birmingham, nothing to do with Liverpool. And a lot of these fans, they don't even go to games. So you've got these fans who are shouting at City fans and Etihad and plastic this and plastic that. They don't even go to games themselves. And you've got to be very wary on social media, because you get a lot of people, they don't even live in this country, let alone go to games, let alone go to their own team games. So, you know, I've seen people with many, many thousands of followers on Twitter, for example, who've got nothing to do with going to games. They don't go to games. You can be a supporter. You know, you can support your team from afar. But, you know, I think people want a distinction between fan, match going and paying and support and supporting the club financially, and supporters who just watch it on TV from another country or from their armchair based in London talking about Liverpool and Man United or whatever. So there is a big distinction there. And yeah, so it's the sort of, and that rolls into the plastics and everything else, and the net spend. It's all rolls together. I mean, the plastics, people call us plastics, or you only started sporting City recently. I mean, I tell people I sported City for over 40 years, but people still want to call me a plastic, you know, because either you put them down or you give them facts, you put them in their place. People want to talk about history. Yeah, go and read up about history. Go and read up about City's history, because guess what? You know, City have had history before the Sheikh came. City have had a long history before the Premier League was formed. You know, City's history goes back into the 1880s, 1890s. You know, that's how far back City's history goes. And you can have a history from a long, long time ago without winning stuff, because you still got the history. You know, it's bizarre that people think history equates to winning lots of trophies. Sunderland have got a great history. They won a lot of trophies. I think won the championship, the league title 6 or 7 times many, many years ago. But they still got that history. I mean, City's first league title win was in the 1930s. You know, 80 years ago? That's a long time ago. City's first league title triumph. So, you know, we've got history. We've got history of winning stuff. We won the FA Cup, you know, well over 100 years ago. So there's no question about history. Atmosphere, okay. I mean, this is a problem at all grounds, on many, many grounds, let's say. You know, last night the Wolves fans were tremendous. They were great. They followed their club really well. They were singing throughout the game. You compare that with when United and Liverpool were here. I mean, the Liverpool, come on, be serious. Those guys, they hardly said a thing. They piped up with trying to do their, you know, You'll Never Walk Alone and the Ale. And they tried that before the game at City, and the City fans give it them back, good and proper. And the only other time they piped up during that game was when they scored. And that was it. They had 5 minutes of, or 2 to 5 minutes, let's say, of singing because they'd scored, and obviously City fans were deflated. But after that, back to normal. You've seen videos doing the rounds on YouTube and Facebook or whatever of the Liverpool fans towards the end of the game, arms crossed, folded like that, silent as anything. You got the odd guy flicking the 2 fingers, but they were silent. You know, the Wolves fans were all game long. Burton fans, all game long. Rotherham fans, all game long. That's support. Liverpool fans, no. Fair weather. You know, if they're winning, they'd give it to you. If they're losing, they shut up. You know, even at, I mean, Wembley, I remember when we went to Wembley and beat Arsenal in the Carabao Cup last season. Even though a lot of Arsenal fans were leaving, you still had, we were quite close to the Arsenal fans, you still had a few, a little bit over the top, probably had a one too many to drink, but they were giving it everything. They wanted to fight. We said, come on, come on. But at least they were giving it something. The Liverpool fans give nothing, okay? So this atmosphere thing, you know, it's prevalent across all sorts of grounds. You go to West Ham, you know, they complain about atmosphere. United, they want singing sections. Lots of clubs are unhappy with atmosphere because it is different to what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. Because in 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was more working class. Now, it's been a bit more gentrified. You know, you've got corporate sections, and that's where the big money is. Let's be honest about it. You know, City have got thousands of corporates. Same at the Emirates and same at Old Trafford and Anfield. That's where the big money comes in. And a lot of these corporates, they've got the money, they haven't got the voice. They don't really get into the singing and everything else. So it's the same wherever you go. And let's be honest, the atmosphere was flat last night. But that's only natural. We scored an early goal. Wolves had a player sent off. We scored another goal. And the second half, there really wasn't that much going on. You know, it was not much more than a training ground exercise. I mean, you saw one of the best moments was when Edison came out and was passing the ball around in the midfield, a lot better than some other teams' midfielders can pass the ball, I hasten to add. And that really got the City fans excited. But, you know, I'll hold our hands up. In that kind of game, it's going to be a struggle to get the atmosphere up. Yes, people say, oh, you had it at Liverpool. But it's totally different at Liverpool. You know, there's much more on the line. There's a lot more needle going into that game. That Liverpool fans were giving City a lot of stick. We don't get that from Wolves fans. They're a bit more decent. They've got a bit more class. And the banter we had with them was more fun. Whereas the Liverpool, you know, the singing that they try and do is sometimes a little bit distasteful. I mean, I'm sure the City fans, some of them, were just as distasteful back. But in general, the Wolves fans were in good humour last night. And so the Liverpool game was totally different. And there was a lot more on the line. And it was a tight game until the very, very end. This game against Wolves, you know, after 20 minutes, City 1-0 up, Wolves down to 10 men. Half-time, we were 2-0 up. Didn't look like Wolves were going to get back into the game. So the atmosphere is naturally going to be flat. Just accept it. That's the way it is across a lot of grounds across the whole country. That's just the way it is. It's it's just another, as I said, a stick to beat City with. And so the media and the press, whatever, they want to beat City with it. Fans, they want to beat City with it. It's very interesting when TalkSport talk about numbers and the empty ad and not filling the ground, etc. And if I read something today, now TalkSport are a national radio station. They're actually the only national radio station that focus, I believe, 100% on sports. They've got contracts and rights for cricket and football and whatever, okay? So you'd expect in this country that we live in, which is sport mad, especially football mad, them to have a great audience. Now, I read today that apparently their audience is lower than Radio 3's. Radio 3. Now, you know, what part of the population does Radio 3 service? Every time I listen to Radio 3, it's like classical music or opera or stuff like that, you know. That's the kind of thing, it's more arty. That's the kind of thing I seem to hit, you know, Radio 3. I don't listen to it, you know, just flicking through the dial, through stations, and you come up with that, you move on very quickly. So TalkSport has a lower audience than Radio 3. So maybe people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Get your own audience up before you have a pop at other people. And finally, what I want to say is, what can we do? What should we do? It's doing the rounds again. You know, people say block TalkSport. Keep them off your timeline. You know, we've said many times on this channel, ban the Sun, ban the Mail, ban the Star, ban TalkSport. Just block them. Block these parasites from your timeline. Just don't have anything to do with them. They rely on clickbait. They rely on people phoning in incensed because they've had a pop at your club. Oh, you call my club the empty hat. Oh, you said this about, oh, you said Arsenal are stupid and whatever, you know. And they have this, I think Adrian Durham has this, the Daily Arsenal or whatever they call it, on his drive show. So they have a pop at fan bases. The fan bases get riled, they ring in, they make money. I'm not sure how much money they make from all this, but the fact that they got all these listeners, they got advertisers because of the listeners they have. That's it. You know, that's how they're making money. And people listening in, calling in, texting in, entering their crappy competitions, you know, and sending them tweets and whatever is just helping to fuel what they do. And generally what they do, they're divisive and they're negative. So why should we be involved? Why should we help them? So, you know, block them. And it's doing the rounds again today. People are blocking TalkSport. They don't want them to appear on the timeline. I don't follow TalkSport. I haven't blocked it. It does appear on my timeline when other people retweet or whatever. You know, I haven't blocked it because I'm a semi sort of, I won't say journalist, but because I'm producing videos with Andy and we have a channel, and you know, I think sadly we have to listen to some of them and read some stuff that we don't really want to listen to or want to read, and we advocate all this to block them, but try as much as we can to avoid, you know, I don't retweet stuff from TalkSport or any of these papers whatsoever. And so, you know, there's no point people being upset and complaining about them if you're going to listen to them in the car. Listen to 5 Live, switch over. I mean, I've done that a few times where it's just been so bad on the way home from a game. After 10 minutes, I just turn it over. I mean, I listen to some music. I listen to something more educational or whatever. You know, I'd love to be talking and listening about football and the game that I've just been to. But if the, you know, the channels are so poor, why fuel them? Give up, move on. So that's one thing you can do. And another thing to do is just ignore. Ignore these clickbait hunters, the people fishing for responses, the people who are just poking the bear. You know, just ignore them and rely, maybe this is the way to do it, rely on a few quality City people on Twitter, on other social media. You got several who are very, very good. You got Fraudy. He's very good. You've got Gary James, who will talk about history all day long and put people in their place with facts and figures. He's a very good person to follow. And it may be you know, everybody can have their own opinion, everybody can do whatever they choose to do, but maybe rely on your quality people like Fraudy and Gary James and maybe Press Rich Blue and others on Twitter to fight your battles for you. Support them, but you know, there's no point getting a little tit for tat with some two bob Normark from whichever country in the world or whichever town far away from Liverpool or Manchester or wherever, whichever team they claim to support. So, you know, block them, ignore them, move on. I said this last season. We should be more focused on enjoying the fantastic football that we're producing week in, week out, than worry about these Normarks, these bellends who want to criticise us for an empty stadium, or you know you've got 500 fans short of a full house, or you've got no atmosphere, or what are you spending all this money, or whatever excuse they want to come up with. If they can't beat us on the pitch, they attack us for anything off the pitch. So ignore them. So we should have done last season, you know, and it's just going to go on and on and on. I said to you, remain consistently good and consistently winning trophies and challenging for titles and trophies. This criticism is going to carry on because you've got to accept the media's red. As I said, Arsenal, but mainly Liverpool and Man United. You can see that by the number of pundits coming from Liverpool and Man United. Ignore them, you know, or hit them with a few facts, block them, you know, mute them, whatever, move on. You know, there's better things to do with your time. You know, go and, like I do sometimes, go and watch some reruns of the great football we were playing last year and this season and the last few seasons. Go and watch, you know, rather than engage with these idiots on Twitter, go and watch the rerun of the 6-1. Go and watch the rerun of the 3-2 against QPR and the split screen with the United fans crying and City fans joyful. That's a lot more fun. Stay upbeat. No need to get angry. No need to lose your cool. No need to get a ban on Twitter. Why get a suspension from these idiots? So go and have fun. Go and do something better instead. And as I said, it's much better to talk about the football that was played yesterday. But I felt I had to, or I wanted to address these issues for you City fans. Give you a little bit more ammunition if you want to take on these haters. But the best thing is block, move on, have fun in your lives. See you around Blues.